Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of depth. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment you are valued, you are loved, and you are appreciated just as you are. I deeply believe that we are all creatives. And what I've created for you is a series where we're going to use the same intro each week, but different guests that are going to bring to you specific and moving stories on how they tap into their creativity. All of us carry around what Brene Brown calls creativity scars, where at some point in our lives, usually when we were children, when we were expressing our creativity, usually an adult or someone we cared about shamed us. And it changed the way we viewed ourselves as creatives. My intention for this series is for you to let go of some of that shame and to tap more deeply into the power of your creativity. As I mentioned, each week, I'm going to share with you some fun stories, some powerful stories, some vulnerable stories of people sharing with you their creativity, and most importantly, their invitation to you to step more deeply into your creativity. Like I said, we'll use the same intro, but we're going to have different guests join us each week. So I think that's enough for me. Let's go ahead and jump into our next guest. Here we go. We have another guest. We are recording on July 1st. We have a repeat guest, and she goes by the name of Dania Ayah Alkhouli, also known as Lady Narrator. How you doing, Dania?
I am well. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. I think this is your third appearance, if I am counting correctly.
I think so. Yeah.
We did one on your poetry, and you were on the panel on domestic violence as well, weren't you?
I was. I think that was it. So yeah, maybe this is the third one. Third time's the charm, right?
No, all the other ones were just as great. So all good. For those of the folks who haven't checked out those other two, and I highly recommend they do, but for those who haven't, how would you describe yourself in 6 words?
So I would describe myself first and foremost as Syrian. Second, perfectionist, and I'm totally not sorry about that. Fierce, dedicated, thoughtful, and loyal.
How did you come up with those words as those as your words?
Syrian, just because it's something I'm very proud of. It's like the line of work, the line of study that I'm doing right now in my doctorate program. Perfectionist, I embrace that because it's always looked at as such a negative thing, but it's actually what's driven me to do as best as I can. Fierce, because I'm just as fierce as it gets. Like, I'm pretty sassy. Dedicated, I definitely am dedicated and loyal. I feel like they go hand in hand. It's just kind of my nature, and it's something that I'm proud of. And thoughtful, because I know that, like, wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, whoever I'm thinking of, I'm giving them my utmost best and thinking of them.
You slipped that in there. I didn't know about this. Tell us about your doctorate program.
Oh, I just started. I actually am in finals. I have my final paper due this weekend. So I decided to start like a summer earlier. I'm supposed to start in the fall, and I just asked them if I could sneak in there. So I'm doing my PhD in cultural studies, focusing on identity development in the Syrian diaspora.
Can you jump in? Can you tell us a little bit? I mean, that sounds amazing. What are you hoping to explore? What are some ahas you have already? What are some things you're stepping in with that you want to test as your hypothesis?
So much to explore. I'm pretty sure in the next 2 years of study, I'm going to change a lot about it, but it's kind of like a fusion of my public policy background with my focus on assisting Syrian immigrant and refugee populations in the US through art programs, through social policy programs and things like that, and relate it to the nonprofit that I have that I co-founded with my mom, A Country Called Syria, which is a traveling exhibition on the history and culture of Syria. So trying to kind of like piece together all the things that I already do and put it in an academic lens, and then I guess enhance it to be able to support my community even better in the real world.
What are some of the things kind of break it. My mind's going like 3 million directions. Like I have so many questions. I'm so interested. Are there some things that you're going in that you're like, I believe this and I want to see if it's true? Are there some questions you're like, I think this and I have no idea what the answer is? How are you kind of approaching this at the, like, let's create a little time box, a time capsule. So when you finish and we have you on the podcast, we can kind of compare.
Yeah. Wow. Lots of pressure here. But I'm not really coming in with a very set, strict thing. I've been out of school for 10 years, and I feel like life has been such an educational platform on its own and introduced me to so many things. But I'm going in to see what is the value of embracing culture and identity in, I guess, a foreign land, and how does that impact, community, collective, mental health, just that idea of how significant is it not to let go of your heritage and your identity when it comes to adapting and being in a new space. Because as we know, so many Syrians have been displaced in the last decade. And how is that affecting how much of the Syrian culture is still being held on to?
And what are your thoughts? What do you think you're going to find? Or what are you hoping? Or
I mean, I've already seen it, and it's a big part of what kind of pushed me into it. There are some that really want to distance themselves from the identity because it's so attached to something traumatic. And then there are those that are fighting really hard to preserve any bits and pieces of it that they can find. And so I'm trying to look at where's the happy medium and how do we embrace identity and history without needing to be attached to the trauma that comes with it.
Do you think you're going to find where someone is based outside of Syria is also going to impact the answers to those questions?
Oh, for sure. I mean, my focus will be on the US just because that's the most easily accessible for me and it's where I've been born and raised and it's the culture that I'm familiar with. But I'm pretty sure, depending on where they're located, what the policies and the government of that nation or that context or region is, it will definitely impact. I think with right now, like we're reading about what's happening in Europe, so many European countries are trying to remove Syrian refugees and send them back, which makes absolutely no sense. So it's like, of course, they're probably dealing with a lot of a different experience versus those that maybe have been resettled here in California.
Mm. Well, I hope when you're a famous scholar for your research, we can still have you back on the show.
I will definitely be a big supporter on your show all the time.
What for you is a story that illustrates what it means to be a creative?
Yeah, when I saw this question, I was like, it's hard to pinpoint, but the biggest story I can think of, it's a personal story that happened to me. So in third grade, I was attending a private school, and we were actually like wall to wall with a public school. And I always compared the way that the public school was clean, well maintained. Surprisingly, right? You would think a private school is the one that's well maintained and clean and all of that. But for some reason, ours wasn't in comparison to the one next door. And on a ride home, my mom and I were talking, and I was telling her and venting her about how frustrated I am that our school is like private school. We're supposed to be godly and clean and all of these things. And why isn't that the case? She's like, well, why don't you talk to your peers about this in tomorrow's assembly? And I was like, what? I'm a 7-year-old in third grade. Like, what are you talking about? I'm just venting to you in the car, lady. Like, what? So she actually ended up asking the school administrators if I could jump up on an assembly the next day, because we had daily assembly where we would like read the Fatiha, the first chapter in the Quran, and we would, hear announcements and do the Pledge of Allegiance and then disperse to class. So I popped up there, little 7-year-old Dania, the first time I ever got behind a mic, and never got off the mic after that. And I talked to my peers and I just said, as Muslims, we're supposed to be, manifesting godliness in our cleanliness and in the way we protect and take care of our school and what we do. And so we need to improve. This is not, the way we should be presenting ourselves. I can't remember the details. I was 7 years old, but for me, that illustrates creativity because it reminds me that we're all capable, regardless of what age or background, to think outside of the box And then when you notice somebody who's doing that, support them. So like I really owe a lot of that to my mom for not just dismissing a 7-year-old's events, but actually saying, well, why don't you do something about it? Let's get creative and let's do something. And I did. And I still have stage fright, even when I perform, even when I speak, even when I'm interviewed. But it's like, I know things need to be said and done, or how else will we get creative and change something?
There's a line you said, manifest our godliness.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about manifesting our godliness in its relationship with creativity.
I think when you have the talents and the ability to do things, that is God giving you a responsibility to do on this earth, in this life. That is how as somebody of faith, this is how I literally manifest or project what I'm put on this earth to do. This is my calling. And so I think manifesting our godliness is recognizing that we're here for a reason. We're supposed to be doing something, regardless of how it shows up. We're all capable of exploring ourselves and figuring out that way to do it.
I love that. I love the way you just tied those two together. That's awesome. I'm sitting with you. Give me so many things I'm just sitting with. How has your art evolved?
A lot, actually. Sometimes I do this exercise where I'll read the poems I wrote when I was 13. And I almost want to cringe because I'm like, that's so childish. But then I'm like, no, good for you, 13-year-old Dania, for writing that and like letting yourself explore. But it's definitely evolved in the sense that I would say it's more daring. So it's more blunt and unapologetic. I look back at those earlier poems and I see that a lot of it was very reserved because I was so afraid of being discovered, like my secrets being found out. Because I talked a lot about being diagnosed with trichotillomania when I was 10, and I wrote about that in my poetry. And I wrote about it in such a vague way so that no one would really know what I'm talking about, because I didn't want to be, ridiculed or bullied or anything. But now it's like, I will say things just like it is. And if you don't like it, yeah, good luck with that. Because there's just no more room or time for vagueness, mystery, reservations. Like if we don't address things at the core, it's not going to grow. So it's definitely more out there. It's a lot more mature and healed, I would say, in the sense that it's not just ramblings and vents. I don't release a poem unless what I've written about is something I've fully processed and healed from, because then it's not ready for anyone else to benefit from, So that's another thing that I pay attention to as I grow. And the last thing is I feel like I let it be more challenging so that I have deeper introspection of myself and the things I'm going through from different viewpoints in my own experiences.
Is writing a part of your processing journey?
Oh, yeah. Writing is a big part of everything I do.
So there's like the writing you do for yourself, and then the writing that becomes a part of what you want to share.
There is. I used to be really good at journaling a lot, and then life got in the way. So sometimes I'm not as rigid with my journaling routine. But writing articles online, writing in my blog, sometimes even writing certain posts on social media becomes a little mechanism of processing, exploring. But again, I try not to publish things unless whatever it is that I'm discussing is something that's fully been processed.
What do you think? I'm imagining you're going to be doing a ton of writing over the next 2 years.
I have a 15-page paper due on Monday. So yes.
What do you think? Let's say Dania 3 years from now has written something down for you to read right now. What do you think she would be telling you?
Wow. I think Dania in the future would say, keep exploring, because there's a lot more out there that you're going to discover and learn from, which has just been the case of life. And good for you, because you're still pushing through and getting there. Like, you've made it this far. So you still have so much that you can get to or grow into.
I mean, well said, future Dania. You went in. You still got it. What inspires you?
The first thing I would say that inspires me, this is a weird answer, but I would say responsibility. Having the responsibilities that I have are constant inspirations for me, because I know that I have maybe the privilege or the platform or the experiences that others don't. And so that is a responsibility. I mean, not to quote, what's his name, Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, but with great power comes great responsibility. It's very true. So having those abilities or resources means I have more responsibility, and that pushes me. It inspires me to look at life from a grander perspective and recognize what needs to be done or should be done. So that's the first thing. And then on a more poetic level, I would say, honestly, the things that inspire me is like, I seem to notice the simple beauties in life that always go unnoticed from like the general public. So I'll catch things that other people completely don't see. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I need to like immerse myself into this. And it creates a whole other world of creativity.
Is there a responsibility that comes to mind that inspires you?
I think being a survivor of a lot of things, being a survivor in general, just being a woman means you're a survivor in this day and age, especially with the recent news that happened yesterday. But being a survivor of domestic violence, being a survivor of sexual assault, being a survivor of somebody who's not afraid to share her opinion and gets constantly berated for it. All of these things built thicker skin that I know gives me the courage and the platform to do things that maybe other women don't have the ability to or haven't reached that point yet. Because I do feel like we're all capable of it, but it just takes time, practice, and experience.
What is an impact you'd like to see your art have, or you hope your art has on people, on society, on the world?
The biggest thing that comes to mind is I'm hoping my art develops a very, how do I phrase this? I want to enhance women's self-esteem in a way that's not superficial, but hits at the core. Because I think we have a lot of great initiatives that empower women, but it's that short-term empowerment or the empowerment that doesn't hit to the core. A lot of people ask me like very ignorant questions, for example, about like, how are you dumb enough to get caught into an abusive relationship? Or how did you not see these things? First of all, it's not like it's very prevalent or obvious to see things that are toxic. Sometimes it's hidden, right? But I think if we develop initiatives that dig even deeper to this development of self-esteem, self-worth, it starts to become easier to practice the sense of, I can keep my distance from you because I'm starting to recognize things that are not worthy of me or my time. And in a world that often tells women to like produce themselves and be a little bit less, I think we need things that elevate women's self-esteem and recognition of worth a lot more vividly.
That's powerful. What would be a dream collaboration for you?
I don't have specific names of individuals, but for me, ever since I was a kid, I've always dreamed of collaborating between art genres. So I'd want to choreograph a dance to a certain music that is crafted to a poem. So as in like the poems are the lyrics and still done in spoken word with the music that matches the theme and a dance that I've choreographed that fits both. So maybe one day I'll achieve this.
And do you want to be the one who wrote the poem and the music?
I can't write music for the life of me, so I will say no to that one, but I will write the poem and choreograph the dance and then find somebody who's very, has the ear for both and can like create something that merges the two.
Have you explored expressing through choreography?
I have. I've actually been dancing since I was 4. So I do a lot of expression through dance. That was a big healing process for me in different experiences in life. So when I'm not writing, I'm pretty much dancing. But I've never choreographed like a full performance outside. I've done it like solo or through special private events, but it would be nice to choreograph both. And I have done poetry to music in certain events, but not very often. It was an interesting experience. I think there was a little bit of a disconnect, so I would want more practice on that.
Were they doing like heavy metal, super fast punk rock?
No, it was like supposed to be classical music, but it was just a little off key and it would overpower the mic where I was speaking. So a lot of the poem got choppy, which was a little bit painful because it was a poem about my dad and his passing. And I was like, no, don't overpower me. You should be in the background. So I'm sure practice makes perfect.
I would love to see that. I cannot wait to see your poetry to music to something you choreograph. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Inshallah. That's going to be great. So for those who want to read your poetry, listen to it, watch it, and all of the other awesome stuff that you put out, and to learn about the nonprofit that you have, where can they go do that?
Best place to find me is Instagram. I feel like that's where I'm the most active. So you can find me at lady_narrator or at A Country Called Syria, one word. Both are pretty active, pretty much operated majority by me. So
can you tell us a little bit about a country? Is it country named Syria or country by Syria?
Country called Syria.
Called Syria. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we're coming up on our 9-year anniversary of the first event we ever held. It is basically a nonprofit organization that my mom and I co-founded 1 year after the Syrian Revolution, with the goal to educate the greater public on the history, culture, and stories of Syria. So it's a traveling exhibition with over 600 artifacts directly from Syria. And we do live events like film screenings, panel discussions, live art shows where we bring Syrian artists to perform or share their crafts, whether it's like graphic design or jewelry making or music or poetry. So we're actually launching a virtual cooking class this month in July, end of July, where we're just going to try and, teach the community and the public anywhere, because it's virtual, on like classic traditional Syrian recipes to just keep that part of the culture going and passed on to the next generations.
Can you give us a little teaser, a little trailer? What's one of the recipes y'all are going to cover?
So this first one is, it's called Hadra Osba in Arabic, but literally it translates to he burnt his finger. And rumor has it it's because the first person to make it actually burnt their finger and it just got that name. It's a very, very common dish in Syria. It has lentils, fried onions, fried bread, pomegranate. It's like, I'm so hungry right now just thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, we're going to do a variety of savory and sweet recipes, but that's the first one and we'll see how it goes.
Yes, indeed. If y'all need a taste tester, I got your back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyone can pop in and make it themselves, because it's literally going to be like a cooking along series. So you'll have the ingredients beforehand to purchase and then cook while you watch.
And can you plug one more time? Where can they learn about that?
That will be at A Country Called Syria on Instagram.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And it's free. So just register to get the Zoom link and then you'll be able to attend.
And what would be your invitation to those who are listening? What would you like to invite them to do, to be, to consider, to think about, to evolve into? What's your invitation?
I think the key word that you said is do. To me, that resonates a lot. I would invite people to just take action. This might be a controversial sentiment, but I feel like even pre-pandemic, I felt like there was a little bit of an enabling culture where it was like, you can do the bare minimum and that's totally fine. And I feel like our world is in a state that needs more from us, not to the point of burnout, but I feel like true self-care is the moment where you can give yourself that tough love conversation of like, hey, I'm needed. I have things I need to do. And I have to like pull myself up and do. So I feel like that's my invitation and the way that I'm perceiving what our world needs right now.
Dania, I appreciate you so much. I am so grateful you joined us. If you could, the last thing we'd like to invite you to do is, in one word, how would you describe the conversation we just had?
invigorating, because now I have all these thoughts about my PhD program that I'm like, wait, I need to mark these down and think of them in the next class.
Glad to hear it's invigorating. It was for us too, and we look forward to having you back again. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. We have another brilliant and powerful guest. She goes by the name of Abstract, C.I.M. What's going on, Abstract?
Nothing much. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. It's been a while.
I know. Today is June 30th, and I think our last interview might have been like 2017, 2018, something like that.
It's good to catch up. A lot has changed.
Yes. So if y'all want to go back and listen to that, we'll have that in the show notes so you can check it out. Here's some of Abstract's poetry. Abstract, for folks who don't know you yet, how would you describe yourself in 6 words?
Okay, that's a really interesting question. My 6 words would be creative, of course. Am I just going down the list, or are we breaking it down? How does it work?
However you'd like.
Okay, I'll be brief. I've been creative my entire life. I love expressing myself and communicating through art, poetry, dance, music, crafts, whatever it is. I love to create. Empathetic. I'm truly, truly empathetic. Sometimes more than I wish. I love to understand and feel and put myself in other people's shoes. And it's inevitable. I think I was born with it. So very empathetic. Passionate in everything I do, not just poetry, not just the art. Passionate in my love, passionate in my hurt, passionate all around type of person. The next word I would use is love. Definitely a lover. Love to give love to receive love, definitely embody it. And I thank God for it, wrapped in his love completely. So 5th, balancer. I'm a Libra, and I think I wear it well. I love to neutralize. I love to balance. I love to make sure I have an equal portion of everything I need to be steady and grounded in life. And last but not least, the word I chose is becoming, because I know every day that I wake up, I'm always striving to do better, be better, become better than I was the day before. So I'm always transforming, elevating. So I'm becoming. That's how I describe myself.
I love it. Yes, indeed. What do you think the 6 words all put together, what do you think they say about who you are?
I think that I would say that I strive for peace, that I strive for, quality and well-doing and positivity in this world. Just, healing, peace. Just a person that strives for peace, I think. I'd hope.
If this last year, if I can go in this direction for a moment, has demonstrated is that this world isn't always a nurturing place. How do you maintain these wonderful values and attributes you just described? How do you maintain those and nurture those so as not to let that other side of life, the other side of the world we live in, dampen them or dim that light?
I think part of the answer to that question is focus. One of the things that I really put into my writing, that I put into my research, that I just put into my practice is that it all starts with your mind. Everything in life starts with your mind, and your mind has so much control. It has the power to destroy you or lift you up. And so I know that if I constantly focus on certain things in life, that is where my heart will flow. That's where my emotions will flow, and it'll bring me down. So it's all about staying focused on why I'm here, staying focused on what I can do to help certain missions, staying focused on my own mental health and peace amidst everything that's going on around me. Using the practices that I know how to use, whether that be meditation or prayer or work or creativity or performing, whatever it is, cooking, eating. It's so much we can do, whatever brings you peace and joy. Remembering to have a nice balance of that, as well as productivity, as well as everything else in life, so that I guess when those hurdles, when those situations do come up, they don't push you down too hard.
I love that. Thank you for going there with us, Abstract. I know a lot of people are taking notes on that.
Yeah.
What for you is a story that illustrates what creativity is or what it means to be a creative?
Okay. I really wish I had a real cool, interesting story. So, but I don't. So I'm gonna just go to the purest form of creativity. For me, it's just, I think, in its most basic sense, is being able to manifest something with what you have. Being able to use your mind to create a song or a poem, or being able to use your hand as a tool to create whatever it is. Just using what you have to manifest what it is you see in your head or in your heart. That's what I think creativity is. So the story is, I needed a backdrop for the upcoming album that I have coming out called Neo Soul Space, which we will get into later, I'm sure. I needed a backdrop for the album cover. And I found this wallpaper that I wanted to transform my room with. Turns out, to get enough wallpaper to cover the wall, which is about 8 by 16 feet, it would have cost me close to $1,000. And that was not the move, because we're not talking about the entire room. We're talking about one wall, an accent wall. Can't do that. Wasn't going to do that. So what did I do as a creative? I decided to paint the wall myself. I did my first mural. And it came out lovely. It was a labor of love, and I enjoyed it. So I feel like that was the way I manifested or created out of what I had, out of what I know how to do. And I think it probably came out better than it would have had I bought it. So that's the case I would use.
Well, I think that's a fantastic story. I don't know why you set us up thinking you're going to tell us about, I don't know, pouring a glass of milk, something boring like that. That was super. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Let's pull some of those things out, though. Some of the, I think, the real special moments of that story. You know, a lot of people will see it's $1,000. I had this vision. I can't do it. And then they just get all down on themselves. They get upset. And that's the end of it. What for you was like, okay, even though I've never painted a mural before, I am going to do it. What do you think was within you that drove that decision?
Well, I think in that moment, I'll give a special shout out to my partner, because he's the one that first mentioned that I should do it. Truly, I think in the beginning, I wasn't for it. I thought it would take too long. I didn't know if I really had the skills, and it's my wall. So if I mess up, I got to look at it. You know what I mean? So it's my bedroom. So, I was a little hesitant at first, honestly, but I can honestly say that I think part of his belief in me that I could do it pushed me to believe in myself, and I did it. So I really appreciate him. Shout out to him.
There we go. That's awesome. I love that. And then where do you think the vision came from, where you're able to see inside yourself, this is what I want, and then to bring it to life? You know, there's a lot of stuff that can happen along the way. Where do you think that comes from, where you are going to have the ability or the desire, the courage to bring it to life?
I think part of it is once you get started, there was no going back. No going back. Once I started drawing with a Sharpie on my wall, there was no going back. But I think that saying, I loved it. And the skills that I needed came to me when I needed them. Painting isn't my favorite medium. And I've been a visual artist all my life, but I prefer pencil and charcoal and colored pencil and things like that. I didn't have a lot of practice with paint, but somehow or another, it came to me. and I was back in my zone that I used to be in years ago. It was beautiful. So I think the gods, they helped me out a lot along the way. So yeah, I really can't explain it. It works out. It works out when it's for you. It works out.
I love that. How has your art evolved?
I'd say the biggest way my art has evolved is that I started out doing poetry, not knowing where that would take me, not knowing where I would go. And now I'm in music, and I'm still in poetry, and I will forever be a poet. Even my music, my lyrics are poetry, but I never saw myself. That's a lie. I fantasize about seeing myself in this position, but I truly never thought I'd actually be here. I truly never thought that I'd be on stages performing music in front of people. Poetry, okay, that's another game. I've been doing it for a while. But this fantasy coming to life with me actually performing music, it blows my mind. It truly blows my mind to this point where sometimes I hesitate to call myself a rapper, but that's what I do. I write conscious hip hop lyrics to neo soul and beautiful hip hop music that really, my goal is to touch my people and give them the medicine in the music, drop the conscious lyrics in the music, versus the other types of messages that we give. So I really simply just put my poetry to music to try to reach another crowd. And I feel like that is a huge transformation. I've evolved a lot. And it's just making the poetry better and vice versa. They bounce off of each other. So big changes.
And so this is the album that's coming out.
This is the album that's coming out.
Tell us about it.
Oh my goodness, Neo Soul Space. Neo Soul Space. It's a neo soul and hip hop album. 7 tracks of goodness, talking about everything from love, healing, trips, vacations, so much. It's a gem. It's a gem. I have some features on there, Sir Gandhi and Kaya Kemp, to add some spice and some flavor. It's beautiful. It's my first musical project, my debut album. I released a mixtape of poetry in the past, but this is hardcore music. Picture J. Cole and Jill Scott, if they had a love child. That's an example of the feel you get with this album. And then you get conscious lyrics that make you think, that teach you how to love yourself, that remind you to heal. It's definitely a labor of love. Put blood, sweat, and tears in it, and I promise you, y'all will get your money's worth. So Neo Soul Space, y'all stay tuned.
Do you have any date in mind when it's going to come out?
I do not have a specific date in mind yet. We're working on the promotional strategy side and investment side of everything. But I can say that 2 singles off the album are already out. So you can definitely go check out the intro to the album called Journey to Neo Soul Space. And you can check out My First Exodus. Nice. And actually, you can also check out Running Back. That's another track that's on it. But I don't want to give too much away. That's an exclusive for y'all.
And we'll plug at the end where you can do that. And this recording episode we're doing right now will come out sometime between now and December. So I'm guessing by the time this comes out, people will be able to get at it.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. What inspires you?
What inspires me? Well, obviously my real life inspires me. A lot of my music comes from real life. I don't really write from the perspective of a lot of other people. It's things that I've gone through. It's the stuff I'm going through right now. So the people in my life, the family, friends, lovers in my life, the breakups, the getting together, the falling in love, the tragedies, they inspire me to write. I'm very much so an emotional type of spiritual writer. So I'll write on the spot, but as I transition into the music side of the industry, I can't do that as much. I'm having to train myself how to work a muscle and write when I need to, not just when I feel like it, not just when I get the spirit or whatever. I have to train myself how to write a verse on spot when needed. So that's a development that's coming. To not have to be inspired to write by anything, but to just know how to write. But that's what has inspired me so far in the past, my real life events.
And what would you say for this album, for your art, for your creativity? What is an impact that, if you could pick an impact, you'd like to see it have on people, on society, in the world? What would you say would be the impact you'd like to see?
The greatest impact that I want from it is to just remind people to have a neo-soul space, to find a neo-soul space and keep it. And what that is it can be a physical place. It could be a place in your home. It can be your home. It could be your bedroom. It could be your bathtub, but it can also be a practice. It could be a place in your mind, a type of meditation that you go to, but to have something that reels you back in, away from reality, back into your inner peace. What grounds you when no one else on the exterior is helping you believe in yourself? What helps you go back to that? What helps you come back to your peace when you're ready to cuss somebody out? Like, you have to have, I guess, a safety net to just to maintain the peace, to maintain balance. That's, what I'm all about. It's easy to do good when you feel good, but do you know how to reel yourself back in when those moments come about? That's what Neo Soul Space is. It's just about teaching people how to be healthier people, mind, body, soul, and spirit.
I love that. It's easier to do good when you feel good.
Yeah.
When did you start to give definition to this is, I'm going to call this a neo soul space, and it means this?
Not too long ago. It's funny. The name came about because of the name of the track that the producer called it. I wrote to it, and it took on a whole nother personality. It took on a whole nother being. And somehow or another, now it's the title track. It's the name of the album. And that's what it's come to represent, because I've always been about making my home my oasis. I couldn't wait to buy a home and make it all I wanted to be. Even when I had an apartment, I would paint it whatever colors I wanted. I would do whatever I had to do and didn't care about the fees, because it's my home. It should be my peace, my oasis, my tranquility away from everything. So in the physical sense, that's what I want to preach, having that space that makes you feel so good in your soul, but also knowing how to feel good in your soul. So Neo Soul Space is everything.
Hey, congrats. Did you say that you're a homeowner?
Yeah.
What? So jealous. We're in that process right now. That is so cool.
Oh my goodness. It's worth the wait. It's challenging. Thank you so much.
What would be your dream collaboration?
Dream collaboration. Me and J. Cole and Jill Scott. Let me go ahead and put that there. All three of us. Me, J. Cole, J. Scott. They're my top musical inspirations, hands down.
I would love to see that. That would be so cool.
You don't know.
I got to see one time Jill Scott, Dania Ayah, and Janelle Monáe do a song together.
You said you did?
Yeah, I did. I saw it. They did it at a Stevie Wonder show. They did a Stevie Wonder cover, the three of them together. Can you believe that?
I just got chills thinking about it. Oh my goodness, I'm jealous. How about that?
Well, we got chills thinking about the collaboration between Abstract, Jill Scott, and J. Cole. That would be fire. I want to see that. Let's put it into the universe. We want to see that. That'd be awesome.
Yes. Let's do it.
So for folks who want to hear the tracks you mentioned, who want to start tagging J. Cole and Jill Scott and saying you need to collaborate with Abstract, where can they get at you? Where can they connect with you?
You all can connect with me on Instagram at Abstract, the letter C, the letter I, the letter M. That stands for complicated in meaning. Abstract C.I.M. You can definitely check out the music anywhere music is sold or streamed. That's iTunes, Apple Music, YouTube, Spotify, Tidal, pretty much anywhere.
There we go. And we will definitely have that in the show notes. What is your invitation to those who are listening? What would you like to invite them to do, to be, to consider, to think about, to evolve into? What's your invitation?
I invite people to just let go of anything that doesn't serve them, to know what brings you peace and joy. Like I said, whether it's a place, whether it's a thing, whether it's a person, whether it's an action, have all of them, have multiple ways, have so many things. You have so much of an idea of who you are. Spend time alone with yourself to recharge away from what this world does to you. Just have a neo soul space, if you will. And don't be afraid to go to it however often you need to.
I love that invitation. Recharge, go to your neo soul space. Abstract, as always, this was a phenomenal chance to sit with you, get to hear your genius, your creativity. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you for having me. It's always good. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Tom.
Of course. If you could summarize what we just talked about in one word, what would that word be?
Weightlifting.
I love that. Thank you again. And let's have you come back once the album comes out so we can promote it.
Okay, most definitely. I would love that. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And thank you once again, and looking forward to having you back.
Thank you so much, Tom. Great to see you.
Nice to see you. I hope our guests from this week allowed you to find new avenues and new ways of thinking about creativity. Creativity isn't just for those who self-describe themselves as artists. All of us have ways that we are profoundly expressing our creativity every single day. And I hope my guests today helped you to connect more deeply with your creativity. I'd love to know your thoughts on this week's episode. You can reach out to me at Tom Earl Artist on all social media, tom@tomearl.com via email, or if you'd like to learn how you can use your creativity in your marketing, in your Facebook and Instagram ads specifically, we have a ton of resources for you. You can find by going to tomearl.me/ads, tomearl.me/ads. My friends, it has been an honor. I am so grateful for you sharing your most powerful resources, your time and energy with me. And as always, I'm wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.